Hello, everybody. We have a great agenda set for today, and hopefully we'll get you launched into the new SSC 100.
So many of you may know we've had kind of many iterations over the years of SSC 100. It's been called different things. It's been titled different things. And we've had the front door experience. We've now, over the past year, looked at what was changed from the front door experience to the first year experience and kind of looked at three different elements of that. It's specifically the new student orientation and the first year seminar class, as well as initial advising and developing an online training for new students. So part of what you're going to see for those of you who are familiar with teaching this course is that while the intent of the course is the same in terms of introducing the student to the college and to college life in general and to strategies for being a successful college student, that some of the pieces that may seem to be less or missing to you or have not been removed from the first year experience but are just in different places. So this kind of intentional scaffolding of the students receiving information at different points in their entry process during their first year, everything still gets touched on, it just may be in a different place.
So I just wanted to touch on the process that we use to take a look at this course. So I think it's important that you understand where we spent our time and how we landed where we did in the course. The first thing that we wanted to use as a key design principle was to make the course cohesive. So you're probably already thinking off the bat, well, that's a challenge, right? Because if you look at the NPOs in this course, they're quite diverse. We have objectives where we want students to identify their personal strengths and weaknesses, right, which can be fairly intense, right, very introspective. And then we ask them to know college policies. So how do you put those topics and everything in between into a course that is cohesive, that feels like it all fits together and scaffolds and builds on each other? The second thing we wanted to do was to make it as focused as possible, right? It's a one-credit course. We have to show commitment to the syllabus, but we also have to integrate some of the college priorities, and you'll hear more about those and how they ended up in the course in a second. Our third thing was to make sure that it was student-centered, right? So we wanted students to have choice whenever possible. We want students to identify their strengths and weaknesses and then be able to have some choice and decisions along the way in the course to explore the things that they need the most. And then fourthly, we had to design this course to be delivered 100% online. And so we needed to make sure that the course was equitable regardless of modality, whether it be online, hybrid, or face-to-face. And that cohesive part really was the biggest challenge. I kept asking, what is it that you really want students to know and do at the end of this course? And as we continue to explore that and have those conversations, we landed on a course-long capstone project, which if you taught SSC 100 recently, you know there already is a capstone project. The difference with this one is that rather than waiting until the night before it's due, have you ever heard of suspected maybe a student did that? Yeah. So what we did was we built those opportunities throughout the course. So they're going to be working on it from day one all the way into the end. And it's all focused on a goal that they choose, which makes it relevant to them. So because it's relevant and focused on the student, then we're able to weave in all those variety of topics and make it be relevant.
All right, so Kim mentioned college-wide priorities. A lot of these are things we would have already addressed, or even if they weren't specific topics in the course, they're things we kind of do naturally in SSC 100 anyway. So talking about grit, the culture of building a culture of grit and the determination needed to persevere, to maintain, and to reach their goal. Mindfulness, diversity and inclusion. We already had a module on that. You'll see when we get into the course, if you haven't looked yet, we used to have 7 modules. Now it's pared down to 3 diversities. So there's not a separate diversity module, but there's diversity opportunities and exercises throughout. The integration of the SDS. So the SDS is the career inventory tool we've used. We advocated pretty strongly in the redesign of this course that if we were going to keep this tool in the course, it needed to be purposeful and not just as something to be checked off. They did it and now move on. So you'll see as we go in that there's a reflection exercise and activity that they do along with the SDS, and information from the SDS results will build into their capstone project. So they can use it as a resource and see a purpose for having done it. And finally, the GETS app, which we've introduced just this past semester, spring semester, to our SSC 100 classes, is now built into the course. So the students learning up front about the importance of maintaining satisfactory academic progress, and therefore perhaps having that knowledge before they get in that kind of trouble, they won't get in that kind of trouble. Specifically on the grit topic, right? So we know Delaware Tech's really embracing this culture of grit. We've really kind of framed those three main models of the course on that topic. So looking at purpose, perseverance, and growth. Again, tying that into the capstone of developing a plan, a goal, creating a plan to reach that goal, and then looking at what's going to happen beyond. What will my life be like when I reach that goal? How will I celebrate reaching that goal? So you have those three worksheets. Those are, and we'll get into those as we go through each of the modules, but just as a point of reference, those are things that you can have for your students to fill out, but they also are fillable forms in D2L that you can just do directly in the system as well.
So if you've looked in the on your home page for D2L, you may have noticed a date change. Does anybody notice that? The start date of your sections for SSC. So when we originally copied the courses Tuesday night, the start date was set to be the same as what the banner start date is. But the deans have asked us to make the course show available to students 7 days prior to the banner start date. So you have access now. If you're wondering why that date doesn't match the banner start date, it should be 7 days prior to when the course officially starts according to banner. Okay. We'll show you this when we look at the course, but hopefully you've learned in the D2L instructor training modules the difference between instructor view and student view. And whenever you're showing the course to your students, you probably want to be in student view. And the way you can tell is when you're in instructor view, you'll see your profile picture and your name. But when you're in student view, you'll see that big orange thing with the two arrows that says your name as student. So just be careful. You can't edit when you're in student mode. So if you wonder why things aren't working, check to see if you're in student mode. You'll notice that when you come to the course homepage, which is where we've landed, we've already got a welcome announcement built for you, and it's personalized, so every student will be greeted by their first name. We have in here a course tour video that Jennifer Blackwell made on the Owens campus. It's about 8 minutes, but it's a really good way for the students to understand how, and for you to understand as well how the course is laid out, how it's organized, how they should navigate. So I recommend that you watch that and encourage your students to watch that as well. And then we give them instructions to go right into the content, which you know is where the majority of work happens in D2L. We included something, it's a new feature, it's called an activity feed. Given the fact that the students in this course are brand new and may have a lot of questions that maybe you can't wait until you see them the next time, so we thought that it might be good to try out this activity feed, and we've created a post for you that already says, what question do you need answer right now? So students could respond to that with a question. You can respond right back to them. If you sign up for that in your notifications, you'll get an email or a text if you prefer when a student posts to that. So it's another way that we can communicate with students and help get them acclimated. All right, let me go now to the content. One thing you'll notice, and this is really important in D2L, is the left navigation. So this is the main navigation panel in D2L. You'll see the modules here. Let me show you a different view because I think it helped me understand it. If I just click Table of Contents, the only thing I can see on the left-hand navigation are the 4 modules. Starting with getting started, and then you have 1, 2, and 3. So right now, on the right part of the screen, we're in the Table of Contents view. That's not where we want to do, we don't really want to work from that view. We can see everything on the right in the whole course if we scroll down. But that's not the best way to navigate the course. So what we want to do is go in through the module. So we're going to click on the name of the first module, which is Getting Started. And now we get more content appearing in the left nav. Those are the submodules. They are ever so slightly indented, the text. So this is a module, and then these are submodules. Again, we can scroll down and see everything in that module on the right-hand side this way, but again, not the best way for you or your students to navigate. So what we want to do from here is go into the submodule view. There's now even more information. So when in doubt, go into the submodule view. Who knows what these orange numbers are? That the number of topics, as D2L calls it, that are in the course or in the module, right, for the student to interact with, read, watch, complete, whatever. On the instructor side, our numbers never go down as we click on things, but when the student views it, as they go through content, their numbers will start to decrease, which is it's a nice incentive for them, I think, to see that progress. So each module is set up pretty much the same way. You'll see an overview, you'll see objectives, learning objectives for the student, and you'll see a fairly comprehensive to-do list.
About the course. This is your typical, what we used to just have on the left side in Blackboard. So we've got your course syllabus information, the suggested course schedule, particularly for those of you who might be teaching in different formats at the same time, of how you could break down the material just to make sure that it gets all covered in whatever format you're teaching.
This is where you're going to post the schedule for your section.
So where you would put in for your students to have their specific due dates for when things will be covered or due. Course grading, right? So those bulleted points are the point-bearing assignments for the course. So that's a little different than what we had before. So you'll see it's consistent. Anything that's a discussion board is the same amount. The reflections are the same amount. Each of the capstone elements are the same amount, so they're each 40 points. And then at the bottom, he was nice enough to add for us, as we're working on the spunky 375 total, so they can know how many points am I going to need to get a certain letter grade. All those bulleted items on that assignment list must be done, and those are the ones that will be graded. If you choose to do other things in your class, add different activities or assignments, whatever, that's fine, but they will not be graded. So you have not lost that autonomy to make this course your own, other than you can't mess with the grading.
Y'all know about these arrows up here? So you can move back and forth within that submodule by using the arrow. So to move to the next topic, rather than going back out, I can just click this and it'll take me to the next topic, which are your course policies and expectations.
Most of you know the idea of the no-show PLDA is important to report. And but it was decided on, approved by the deans, that beyond, how do we word this? The maximum score on the assignment will be 75% if it's submitted beyond the due date. So they can still get credit for it, but they just will get cut.
And the other part is that there is the assignments will not be accepted, and also with the course expectations of what they can expect from their instructor, and what the instructor can expect from you, and what is not expected from anybody, the things that are off limits in terms of when people are doing reflections or discussion, whether in class or online, to behave. So this is something that you can complete right now. So just the idea of going in. So this is the about your instructor. So this is where you would put your information for your students to see. So you're going to hit Edit HTML, and then it's going to allow you to go in and click on and put your office location. If you have any, most of us don't have like office hours set a time. You can put your email address in there, your phone, and then preferred method of communication via email, phone. You can upload a picture.
So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the image, and then you're going to go to the hamburger icon, which is the one on the far right that says Image Options. And then you can upload your own image or drag and drop the image that you want to use there. Or just, if you don't want to use a picture at all, just remove that icon. Just take that whole thing out by clicking delete, and it goes away. Don't forget to hit update if you've made changes.
And if you have more than one course, you would go in and do this in each of your courses. Okay, so while there's some folks that bring up these beautiful pictures of themselves, we're going to move on to where the technology resources. Now, if you remember, this was like way back when it was Module 3, when we had all the technology. So when you click on the technology resources, my favorite thing, and you go over here and you'll see that it has all the different things in here about what the resources are for, and then so these are all the resources for students. So when students need help, these are all the tutorials for D2L.
And also for Blackboard, because many of you will have students who are taking classes in both this fall, because not all the courses have switched over, so they may need assistance in navigating two different systems.
So using D2L tutorials, and all the different things that support that's there for students as you roll down. So these are all the technology resources. So now the other thing that's here, if you look on the left, and remember, this is all considered like Module 0. We haven't gotten Module 1 yet. So this could easily be day 1. So one of the things that was created was an online tutorial for new students. So this is basically like NSO, for somebody didn't go to NSO, and a better capture of the information from NSO if they did.
But it's not a replacement of it. It's not a do either or.
Right.
So ideally, something like we said, the course will be open for students the week prior. Thought process was when they developed their TNS was that students would come to class with this already done. We know that will likely not happen for a few or several or many students. So, know that will probably likely be part of your day 1 activities.
And so there is a pre-test. They click on the pre-test, they can take that. There's introduction videos, and then there is a post-test. So if you are looking right here, that in the getting started, and here's the points that are for that. So you can coach students through this in day 1 if you have people that are at least, are looking for it or trying to figure out how to get through this. Because we know that you're going to have students that won't even know how to log in. So you're going to have to manage that in a lot of different ways. And it may be that you would show them the pre-test in class and then show the videos, or you could assign it as homework. But hopefully you would have that done as a starting point in the in the course so they can get to see all this good stuff. So this is where a lot of the public safety, a lot of policy stuff is discussed in here, all the stuff from NSO.
And what used to be a big part of our module
Right.
2.
The pre-test and the post-test in here will auto-grade you.
Then the other thing in the getting that first, you'll see this optional community building activity. That's the sunburst activity. That was with that diversity activity where they do the sun and the things of weather unique and different. And that is a really nice icebreaker, and it's nice to get the students talking to one another. It says optional in there, but so if you have something, another great icebreaker, you can use that, you know. So that's what I mean by optional, but we just want to have that there for you.
Can I jump in here?
Sure you can.
Underneath that, it says what? Draft. So in D2L, the way you hide content from students is you put it in draft mode. If it doesn't say draft on it, see right under here it says draft. If it doesn't say anything, that means it's published. And that means students can see it. So there's content in here that would make sense for an online teacher to have all of it published, right? But as you're teaching face-to-face, there may be things that you don't want the student to see right away. Maybe you want to hold some of it back until after class, or something that you're going to do together in class that you don't want them to do at home if they see it, because then they're going to be bored in class. So the way to change the status of anything is really simple. And then right here, you'll see the down chevron on the right for draft or published.
So, and one of the options is, if you brought this up, so if you wanted to, and if you wanted to bring it up and just show the directions on the screen and have the class do it, you could do that too.
So we have in that getting started, there is an introductory discussion board. Discussion boards look a little different, and they're titled a little different than what we're used to in Blackboard, but it's the same concept. So we asked them 6 introductory questions to respond to, and so they click on the link that says introduction, and it takes them to a place to post.
So the directions for discussions and assignments show up in 2 places in D2L. They show up here, and then they also show up again when the student clicks to go ahead and enter their answers. So in this case, it's the discussion, and we give them instructions. When you're ready to enter your answers, click the name, then select Start a New Thread. And we put the link for them if they need it on how to use the discussions tool in D2L.
You did a rubric for this too.
You did?
Yes.
So underneath the instructions, you see where it says rubric? So this is where you and the student can preview the rubric that you're going to use to grade that particular discussion. So this one's basically a checklist for the most part. They either did or didn't tell us their name. They either didn't or didn't tell us their major and why they selected it, etc. Now let me show you what this looks like. Now, if you ever want to use you as an instructor the fast way to get to your discussions and assignments, you can go through the activities tool. So in activities, you can go right to discussions, and students can do this too. And you'll have a list of all of the discussions. So for introduction, you can just enter it right here. So even if students, it doesn't matter that they remember which module or submodule it's in. If they know they have a discussion to do, they can go through that activities tool. Now on the instructor side, let me show you what it looks like in the grade center when the student submits work. So you won't be able to see this in your course because the students haven't submitted work yet, I hope. But I pretended to be a student the other night. And so I'm going to go into grades and grades and enter grades. Right now I'm the only student in here. This is my student account. And the way you can tell that something has been submitted is it has that little icon with the orange dot. Remember in Blackboard it had an exclamation point? in here it has this little icon where I have the cursor now, right here. So to see what Kim Bates, student, submitted, we're going to click on it. And I've already graded this one, but what you'll see is at the very top, you're going to see the rubric, and then underneath, you're going to see what the student submitted. So grading is as simple as, all right, what's the first thing on the rubric? The student provides their name. Yes, she did that. So we're going to give her 1 point for that. If she didn't, we simply check that box. All you're doing is checking the box to show which grade you want to give. Rubric automatically totals for you. Let me show you something here, though. See this where the criteria, it says for 3 points, the student has to explain what he or she is most looking forward to about college. For 0 points, the student doesn't do that. Could it be there's an in-between? They did it, but it wasn't really that clear, or wasn't that great, or you don't think it was quite worth 3 points? So all you have to do in that case, let's say you think you want to take off a half a point. You simply click the number to the left, and you type in 2.5, and hit enter. So the grading, there's a scale within the rubric that you can manually change beyond just clicking the box. You can also leave feedback. So let's say you did take a half a point off for there. You can explain why you did this right here. So the student knows why they lost a half a point, and you just click done. And then, as we said, the rubric will total overall for you, and it will indicate, based on the math, whether it's a 92 or higher, an 83 or higher, or 75 or higher, or 74 and below. Really important. When you first open this rubric, see the box that says Publish Score on Save? When you first open the rubric, that box will not be checked, which means that you can hit Save to the rubric, save and close, right? But the student will not see it until you check that box. Why would you not want the student to see it? Well, maybe it's a long assignment. You're not going to get them all done at once, but you want the grades to be released to all of us. Just if you graded something and the student swears they can't see their grade, check to be sure that you check that box. And then when you're done, you're just simply going to save and close. Grade Center is color-coded. The student earns an A on an item, it's green. If they earn a B, it's yellowish. Obviously, an F is red. So that's how you use rubrics. If you want to see all the rubrics all at once, without having to go to the assignment where they are, you're going to go to Admin, Course Admin. I'm going to recommend that you unscramble these so that you show them by name. So click Name, and then they're alphabetical. And then simply go down to Rubrics and click that. And there you'll see a list of all the rubrics that we've built for this course. If you want to look at one, click the little down chevron and then click Preview. And then you can scroll through and see what they look like.
So we're going to Module 1, right? So we're going to start planning. So Module 1, again, Module 1 is probably not what you're hitting the ground running on day 1, because you'll have been doing your introductions and all this good stuff and the module getting started items. But Module 1 is planning for success. And so that's where we're starting to look, and you'll see on here that we have your to-do list and 3 sub-modules, again, in this. So we're looking at the self-directed search, looking at goal setting, and we're looking at learning styles. So self-directed search, I think generally we found if you're in a computer classroom, it's great to be able to do there during class time because there are lots of issues. I know we have more of the benefit of that at Wilmington than you might have here at Stanton. But if you can do that in class, that's great. But then there's also an assignment attached to that. So we have here the faculty manual for the SDS. So you will have to provide to your class the specific link to take the SDS from whatever campus you're teaching from. Right? So you just cut and paste that Stanton link if you're teaching here at Stanton, the Wilmington link if you're teaching at Wilmington. That's just a college-wide thing to keep count of the number of SDSs happening at each campus location. The instructions are there for your students, and then there's a reflection assignment. So that funky little icon there, I don't know what that is. It's like a candelabra. I don't know. Where it says all conditions must be met. So that's a release item, and that's just for you to know that a student cannot get that. They won't even see that until they've done something else. For this is that they have to have read the instructions for the assignment before they can just write in. Okay. So if they're saying, I can't get it, well, it's because they won't, and when they look on theirs, they won't have that check mark. That's the instructions yet. If it's not checked yet, then you need to do that first.
So the reflection question is where they look at, they look at report. And so before I go into this, I want to show you what they're reflecting on. So they're going to reflect on their summary code, some of the characteristics, and what occupation did they explore in ONET. And the other thing is they're going to review the skills and abilities area of ONET. And this is what we want them to do. We want them to write down some skills and abilities because they're going to use this in their capstone project. So, I have a sample SDS report. So, is this looking familiar to everybody? Okay. And so, this is their a student's report, and here's their summary code, and then they would go down. If you remember, for me, I would just go down and have them look at the different occupations that came up, and they looked at the salary, and they looked at the things they needed to do. So this is what the report looked like. They would email you this report, and they would show you, I did it, and you went, okay, get 10 points, right? But the thing is, this is packed with so much more stuff. And so one of the problems was always, it was like, wait, I want to be a nurse, but this says I'm going to be a buyer of farm products. I want to be a buyer of farm products. So I need to change my major here. So don't worry about it. So here's what we're going to do. You can click on any of these. And so we'll click on buyer of farm products, and it takes you out to, so these are live things. So now instead of looking up buyer of farm products, but if you go up here in the top where it says occupational search, I'm going to put in nurse because the person says I want to be a nurse. So when you go to nurse and then you do search, then it gives you a whole list of nurses. So now this is going to make the SDS more relevant to the students in the class. Now we're talking. Now we're talking about something that I actually came to Delta for. So they could put police officer, baker, chef, all those sort of things. So I'm going to click on registered nurse. And in registered nurse, it lists the different skills and abilities, technology, and here's where that skills and abilities part is that we're asking for that reflection. And what's really interesting in there, when you look at things, this is the stuff that nurses have said students need to do to have to be a good nurse. And so they need to be able to be have active listening skills. They need to know social perceptiveness. They need to understand, have empathy, their speech coordination. And actually, this is 5 of 15. So the students can view all of these things: judgment, decision-making, writing, active learning. All of those things are what nurses have said a good registered nurse should be able to do. So they're going to be asked to pick 3 of these, the skills and abilities, because they're going to actually use this in their capstone too.
And what we're looking at really is to identify those skills and abilities and help them connect what they need for their job to what they need to be a successful student. That's what the reflection question is asking. So look at the skills and abilities for the career path that you have chosen and think about how those are necessary for you right here, right now to be successful at Delaware Tech.
So these are from people in the industry. So that's what this ONET activity is. So that's what they're going to do with their reflection. Okay, so the other thing is, when they get they have their code. This is an explanation of their code. So here's where I went. I went to the
Learn more
about the personality types.
And in the instructions, we've had screenshots for all of you that points to where you'll need to click. It's very step by step for you and for the students.
Right, and the instructions in there, and the faculty manual is all in there. There is a way for you to go in and do the self-directed search. That's what I would do. I would do the self-directed search more than doing the reflection. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be more helpful, because when you've done it, you can see where they get kind of caught in what's the next thing I do. So here's another draft. This is the self-directed search manual, and this was created by the career counselors here. So that manual is also in draft, so that's also a resource for you as a teacher to go through and all the different things for that. So that's another thing that might be helpful. All right, are you ready to go to goals?
Sure.
All right.
All right, so here's where we're really getting into introducing to them the concept of the capstone, right? And we're talking about the goal settings. We're going to see an element of this throughout. So we're talking about what's a SMART goal. Is everyone familiar with SMART goals? Okay, so we're going to have them establish a goal, develop a goal, and sometimes we'll talk about what's your goal? And they're I want to buy I don't know, some kind of car, right?
Right.
So
a Mustang.
A Mustang. Sure. So we're going to say, that's great. We're going to be a little more focused. We're going to look at either an academic or a career goal for the purposes of this assignment. But you can apply SMART goal to anything. So you can do that for your Mustang on your own time. So for the goal setting, then we have a discussion topic. We're talking about setting goals, looking at times when we've set a goal before in life and when it didn't come to fruition, when it did, what was the difference. That's one of those times when that could be an online discussion board. That could be small groups. That could be a big class discussion. That's where we have those options of how you do the discussion, but that discussion is an assignment. Okay. And then we get to setting SMART goals. We have videos, we have resources there. Again, think about we're designing this for the online student as well. So we have the video going over the SMART goals. That's something you could just show in class. And then we introduce to them the capstones. And so this is them coming up with initially what's your goal. And then we have them breaking it down into the SMART, applying that to their goal. When you get to the bottom, once they've done their SMART part, it talks about maybe you want to revise that goal, because what the discussion in class or individually with them that you're having is now looking at does your goal reflect those SMART elements. If it just says someday I'm going to be, then it's not a time-bound goal. Right? So we need to build in what's the T part of SMART. So think about how they want to revise that goal. You'll notice at the bottom it says you will receive feedback from your instructor on this, because part of their final presentation is going to be presenting their final version of their goal, and they need to have incorporated any comments or feedback that you've given to them. So particularly for those of you teaching in an accelerated format, the 1 week classes, the 4 week classes, that kind of turnaround. And that could be something that might just be happening in class when you've got a 3 or 4 hour class that you could be talking to people one-on-one, or you're sending feedback through D2L to them, just so they're getting that feedback, well before the last day, so that they can make those changes. Right, so then we go on up to the how do you learn best is we're going to talk about learning styles, and this has been a favorite topic of many instructors. There's lots of different types of inventories out there. So what we've asked is for students, a lot of students say, I've already done this, I did this in another class, I did this in high school, I know what my learning style is. We want to make sure that they've identified. If they haven't done that, we provide them with 3 different inventories that they could take. Say, pick one of these, answer the questions, and it'll come up to tell you if your preference is as a visual or an auditory or a tactile learner. And then step 2 is let's look at those study strategies that are applied to that style of learning. So they're going to then go and look at that document for what their study styles are, study strategies would be. And then again, this could be a discussion where you group all your visual learners together and your auditory together, and they have that conversation about what study strategies work well for me, where do I struggle, or that could be something they're doing on their own. I think the more interaction, a big part of this is to build that kind of connection with the camaraderie.
Okay, are you ready to go to Module 2?
Yes.
All right. So again, as we're working through this, we're working for purpose and perseverance. Module 2 is the developing strategies for success. Again, there is a to-do list. So when you click on that first module page, you will see that there is a to-do list. So on this to-do list, it says there are 5 submodules. There are 5 submodules in this. And the first one being the diversity awareness, which was the diversity lesson from the old course. That was the TED Talk, and a discussion that goes along with that. The second is and Kim will jump on this a little bit later about the growth mindset. You can learn anything. And then there is, submodule 3 is wellness. So wellness is going to be, then this is where we're going to encourage students to basically choose their own adventure. So we want them to explore different things in wellness, and that they have to, this is almost like the stress management sort of thing. So we want them to explore certain things for them to be successful. So whether it's sleep, nutrition, those sort of things. There's a video that they would watch in there, and they would explore 2 of those. The list is right there. Explore 2 of the 4 submodules based on your interests, and then how to then do the managing stress module, which has the focus 5 activities, and then submodule 4 are the professional and academic skills, and I'll click on some of these in a minute. Professional and academic, that's where we have study skills, note-taking, all that good stuff. And then now we go to capstone 2. So here's the diversity awareness. And there's some additional activities down there if you want to add to the diversity lesson. If this is something where you're like, so there's a quiz in there, and then there's the answer key. Obviously, it's in draft. And then there's also a perception quiz in there. So that's the optional diversity activity. Kim, do you want to jump on this one now and then?
Yeah, sure.
So this is the growth mindset.
So
And Kim's going to explain what this one is.
Delaware Tech was selected to be part of this growth mindset, evidence-based training out of Stanford. Those of you who are familiar with growth mindset know that the main person behind that is Carol Dweck. So she's out of Stanford. So this is her program. This is an evidence-based online training program that all of our students in SSC 100 are going to take part in. It costs us and the students $0. But this one is very simple. It's a completely built online training. You'll have 2 options for how you administer this. Student does it as homework on their own. in which case that would be the online option here. Or you are in a computer classroom and you help the students get it done during class time. Whichever way you decide to do it, you need to publish that submodule. So if you're going to do it in class, you're going to go to the Growth Mindset in Class submodule and take it out of draft and publish it. Then students will be able to see it. From that point, then we've got step-by-step instructions for you of what to do. Get the computer classroom. Before students start, here's the exact script that you're going to read to them. Then you're going to give them the website, which is right here. Then you're going to give them the participation code, which is FigFrog. It's step by step. And then you're going to read all of this to them. And then you're going to read this after the participation. This is a completely evidence-based online training that you either can facilitate in class or online. If you choose the online version, all those instructions are there for the students to read on their own. It takes 30 minutes. Just remember to open up whichever module you're going to use, either in class or online.
And they get points for that.
That's a good point.
For completion.
Right.
They'll get, when they're done online, they'll get a code. And all they're going to do is, through D2L, they're going to submit you their completion code. And you're going to give them full credit.
The next one in Module 2 is the Wellness submodule. And inside the Wellness submodule, this is where we want students to explore different things that they need to do for their own wellness. They don't have to do all of these things, but we want them to explore at least 2 of these, 2 of the 4. Exercise, social support, sleep, and so like if we click on sleep, there's different videos in there and things that they can watch and just how things affect them. And then when we go here to the managing stress, so we want them to go through and look at the managing stress in community college and how stress affects the body. But then down here, these are some of the mindfulness activities. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, if you don't like doing, actually it'll go right through that. So we want you that they can actually go through and they can, you can play one of these in the class with audio. Oh, and you can have audio by
Male or female.
Male or female. Whichever you want. These are these activities, if you don't feel like you're trained in this, they're there for you.
But this is a great opportunity. Obviously, the college has really embraced mindfulness as a strategy for all of us to help manage stress and our lives. So it's a great opportunity to also introduce that there are mindfulness rooms on the campuses, that there's a mindfulness course that students can take as well. The expectation, although there is not a point value associated with this, is that we're talking about mindfulness in this class, right? So it just even doing the Focus 5, this is not something to skip over. If it's not something you feel comfortable with, again, it's got the audio things. Or if you want to reach out to one of us and you want someone to come in, there are people. I know Jennifer Roll at the Wellington campus has offered to come in and do that because she's been well trained as well. So Keto will come all the way up from Dover. That's great.
Well, but the other thing too, and Kara kind of alluded to this, but if anybody is available on campus to engage in a mindfulness session, you can come to the session so that you can have a better sense of what we're asking the students to participate in.
So that's wellness. And then the other one in this is professional and academic skills. And here's where you have the communication, the studying, test taking, overcoming test anxiety, all those different study skill strategies, taking notes. Again, when you click on that left-hand side, you'll get to see all the things that are in there. So this is kind of chock full with a lot of different things for the strategies for study skills.
And again, if you have your own thing, if you have an exercise you've done in class before, if you have your own materials on video that you like that's not here, you are certainly welcome to use that in place instead in addition to.
Now, when I'm going to open up the last part of this module, which is evaluating your SMART goal, and this is Capstone Part 2. Now, when you're looking at Capstone 2, what you'll notice is the thing that they put on there are the skills and abilities. That came from that ONET. So that's where we wanted them to write some notes. Like Jane said, they should be taking notes on this while they're doing this. So they should. That's where that's ONET when they did different. And so in this, they list the skills and abilities that they saw from ONET for their SMART goals. They could also list other things too. And then they list whether or not that is an area of strength or something that they need to work on. Is it their strength or an area of improvement? Then on section B, they're going to list the challenges that they might have for this. So if they are saying this guy skills and abilities to do this, however, I'll have a lot of time to practice this, or whether time is an issue. So they list their challenges. And then section C, this is where they're going to pick one topic from the wellness section of Module 2 and one topic from the professional and academic skills, and this is study skills. And they're going to put those in there, a couple of things that they learned, and then an action step on how they're going to put that study skill or that wellness skill into place. So this might be somebody might say, I'm glad to learn about that mindfulness activity. I'm going to try and do that more because I get pretty stressed out at school, so I'm going to do this. Or I'm going to work on my nutrition, or I'm going to exercise more, the things that are from that wellness section. So this is moving forward on the action plan. So now here's the group.
Right, this study, we're in Module 3 and it's the last one.
Yay!
That's so cool. Right, 1, 2, 3 and you're done. So here you're going to see, again, a lot of resources in Module 3. We talk about advising, which was always a big part of our Module 6 before, right? So when we talk about the advising resources that are available, where we're introducing to them, the concept that they have a program advisor, this really should be reinforcing that to them because they should have learned that in their initial advising. I also talk about the career advising that's available to them on campus. There is not anymore a point-driven assignment to email their advisor. And again, that became kind of challenging depending on the point in which you were teaching in the semester. We certainly still want to encourage them to make sure that everybody knows who their advisor is. And certainly if you're teaching in the time period when it's advising month and we're prepping for registration, to be encouraging them to make those connections.
So it has program advising and career advising. The big interview and the job list and all that stuff. So this is, remember, you used to often take your students to the career center. Mm-hmm. You can still do that if you have time. But then when you come back from your career center visit, you can say, here's the links to everything that Kathy talked about in that visit. So here we have the different resources. This is the policies PowerPoint. This is not graded. In Module 2, they did an activity. The PowerPoint wasn't graded, but they were graded. They had scenarios that were graded. But this is if you want to make sure that you can go through the different PowerPoint. And these are the links to the handbook and the college-wide policies. Now, this one is graded. So the one I'm going to click on right now is the graded part of Module 3. And this is called GetSAP. So GetSAP is one of the features from the new financial aid TV, and there's a to-do list in here. I think it's actually listed right in the order that it would go in. So this came from where we want to make sure that students are aware that their performance in school ties into how, potentially could affect their financial aid and affect how long it's going to take them to graduate. So the What's SAP is basically a PowerPoint that shows them the difference between satisfactory academic progression, which is a financial aid term, and academic standing, which is an instruction term. So there's a PowerPoint that you would show them, and then here is a video that shows them how to navigate the GetSAP area, and they'll have to register. They don't automatically have an account, so they'll have to register for an account. By the way, if you want to try this and you want to register and take the Get Set and do that, you can do that as well. And then here is the actual lesson that they're going to do, the essentials to understanding satisfactory academic progress. And so do you remember those videos that we had to do for employee training where there's a pre-test and then you watch 3 videos and there's a post-test? This is exactly the same thing. So they go through the videos. So they could put earbuds on and do it in class, or they could have them show them how to do this and then send it home and have them complete it at home, like watch the videos at home. And the videos, some of them are 3 minutes, some of them are 45 seconds. You know, so there's a pre-test. We have about 6 videos to watch. Then there's a post-test with 1 question, and they get 3 chances to answer that 1 question. So if they get it wrong, it says no, and then when it brings it up again, they mix up the multiple choice. So the idea would be that they would get 85% on this. And so when they get 85%, they get a congratulations, and they get a completion certificate. So then, when you go down here, Kim very nicely put the tutorial for how to upload their completion certificate. So, I mean, they get it's emailed to them. So when they're finished, they get it emailed to them because that's how they register. You're going to want to know one of the things that's asking when they're signing up. It's going to ask. Oh, this is the dev course. But see this up here where it has SSC 100? That will actually be your course and your course number, so it'll be SSC 100 section 503. Because one of the things that they have to when they're registering for Get Set is what's their section number. You can see your section number, and so they're going to say, "What's my section number?" And they can look at the top of their page, but they're going to need that, or if they don't know, like you know how they have to look up their email address often on email, so they might have to go there. But that's what you want to be able to prepare for them, because they're going to need to know the section number. You want to chat a little bit about the binder?
Binder is an app that students can create a free account and save documents directly to their binder. It's not specific to a course. This is an important document they want to have access to outside the course. Mm-hmm. So they can scroll down and they can save that to their binder.
Because particularly for those of you teaching like the early semester classes, students are going to lose access to the course when the course ends. So if there's documents or resources that would be helpful for them to have, you can encourage them to do that, because their binder will stay with them as long as they have a student account.
Right? If they click the button that says send a binder, a new window will open that allows them to create a free account. And I would encourage you to create a binder account as well. It's very simple to do, just to see how it works.
Okay, so in our last 3 minutes, here we go. Ready, set?
Okay.
Hold on, we're going to do this. All right, capstone part 3 and capstone presentation. So capstone part 3 is probably the shortest of the capstone activities. Don't let that be deceiving, right? That's for them to really break down their task list of how they're going to do this, right? So you think about when you do that to-do list, and again, that's something you can be working on them with. They can do that in class and kind of look over things. Help them to think about, is that one to-do item really 4 items? Like, you know, how do you really break that down into tangible things that you need to do? And again, reflecting back on the materials that we didn't necessarily have points for in Module 3, but what resources can I use to help me with this? So if their goal is to get on Dean's list, join PTK, something academic like that, they're going to need to know just how to access the college catalog to get the guidelines for that, right? They're going to need to stay in good, satisfactory academic standing, right? So those kind of resources, they're going to look back. What are the things I looked at in Module 3 that would help me meet these tasks? And finally, we wrap up with Success is Sweet. So what are you going to do when you achieve this goal? So I want to kind of encourage students when you're setting whatever kind of goal it is, short-term or long-term, how are you going to celebrate, reward yourself, share with others the joy of reaching your goal. And the final, then, is the capstone presentation. So, similar to what we've done before, we've taught this before, my impression is this will probably be most likely a PowerPoint, because that's what a lot of students are familiar with, but it doesn't have to be. There's a worksheet that goes along with this that guides them through each of the steps of the capstone. It's pulling information from each of the capstone worksheets they've already done, but perhaps asking them to think a little deeper about something there. So, for instance, that first one, they're putting in their final revised SMART goal that's incorporating their instructor feedback. We talk about skills. What did you research? What skills and abilities did you identify? Which ones of those might have surprised them? Right? So you could think of this, if you're looking at it as a PowerPoint, like maybe each bullet point is a slide. Again, we're not getting too wordy on things. If they want to break it down more, it can be that. And if it's not a PowerPoint, maybe they want to do a poster presentation. They want to do a video. They want to do a cake box. They whatever they want to do is okay. The rubric does not include points for their oral presentation skills, right? Because we're not teaching oral presentation in this course. You can decide based on the time you have allotted on what you think would be in the best interest of your class. If you want them each to do individual presentations, if you want to pair them up and just have them share with each other, if they're, but you're grading the content of the work they submit, not their oral presentation of it. Each element is the 40 points, so they can just each think of it as they're building along. And
here's the rubric for the presentation.
This is all the work they've done throughout the course up till now. They're just putting it all together.
We know this is big, this is different, this is a change, but think about, why we teach this class, right? We know why we're all here. We know why this course is important. So yes, this content's here. Yes, we want to make sure these graded things are addressed, but the bigger picture is making sure that these students are feeling welcome, that they're getting connected, that they're becoming aware of resources, comfortable with the technology, feeling comfortable asking questions, not having to memorize all the policies, but knowing where to go to find things, and that we are resources for them as well. So certainly, Steele and I are available to all of you. We have CCIT resources on each campus to help out. Go into that D2L training if you haven't done that already, so you can feel more comfortable going that. Sometimes when we're going into a brand new course, some of us get assigned a course, a day before it starts, and we just say, I'm going to stay a week ahead of the students, right? That may be what this first semester feels like. Make sure you're a step ahead of them. It's going to come easier. But we thank you all for riding this thing with us.